right, how are you? Thank you so much, Jonathan, for having me. I'm humbled by the request. Really, this is phenomenal, and thank you so much. So my name's Sean Burke. I live at just about 30 miles outside of Philadelphia in a small town called Skippack, Pennsylvania. Not too many folks know where that is, but I'm 43 years old. I've been married for about 19 years to my beautiful wife, Kristen, and then I have three children, 17, 15, and 12. And they keep us pretty busy, I gotta say. And since March, our house seems to be, pretty crowded because we're always kind of stepping over each other. But we're getting by. I'm a high school principal. I've been in education for about 21 years, straight out of college, and I've been in administration for, I guess, the last 15 years or so
Okay.
as a high school administrator.
Were you a teacher before that?
I was. I taught English, and I also coached basketball. And just with a lot of the leadership things that I was doing, found my way into getting my principal certificate and became a principal. So
Awesome. I'm sure that's a very rewarding and challenging job at the same time.
that's a great way to put it. These days, it's extremely difficult, and we're doing a lot to try to get through these tough times. And really, at the base of it, it's really awesome working with kids and teachers. But there's a lot of challenges. It's
Sure.
a lot of time, a lot of
Yeah,
time.
I can imagine. So I mentioned that you've been working with us since June, but let's rewind way back before that, and let's just kind of talk about, how did you grow up as far as the kind of things that you work with us on? What was exercise like as a kid? What was your mindset around that? What was the family dinner table looking like?
So when I was young, I mean, I guess in elementary school, I played like all the sports, baseball, soccer, basketball, and really most of the like just every day after school we would just run out and play. I mean, if I didn't have a sport, I was out with my friends riding our bikes and playing street hockey or street football or whatever it was. And nutrition was more of those things. I mean, I don't really think we didn't talk about it then. It was just, my mother, God bless her, made meals every night. It was like a meat, potato, vegetable every night. There was often seconds, never of the vegetables. Um, but it was never really something that we talked about. There was a snack at night, and lunch was a sandwich, and cookies and chips and things like that.
Yeah, that
But
sounds pretty much
that's
like
just
my life growing up.
yeah. So I was young when in my younger days, and I played all the sports. When I got into high school, I went to an all boys school. I actually went, to school with Chuck, and I know you had him on the podcast previously. And so when I was in high school, I actually made the basketball team as a freshman. The freshman team, about 75 kids tried out. I was one of 15 who made it.
Wow.
Pretty much fell in love with it and became hooked. And just found myself it was 2 hour a day practices every day. It was awesome. And then after that first season, I just fell in love with it. I just started to go to the courts in the playgrounds and playing every day, shooting every day. And the following year, I got cut from the team.
Hmm.
So I had one friend who I became really close with, and just had this passion to make the team the next year, and that really came with, I found the weight room, started lifting a lot, started to run a lot, and we played every night, shooting and playing, and just every night was basketball. And we did things such as we rode our bikes to the shore, like to the Jersey Shore, like things like that were just not, kids our age didn't do that. Friday and Saturday nights for us were lifting and running and playing ball, and most kids our age were probably out hanging out. And it was kind of that. I was obsessed with that, to be honest with you. And then, ultimately that was awesome because even though I didn't play in high school, I was able to make a college team. I played college basketball for 3 years.
Wow.
So that was really, I loved that time. It was really fun for me.
Where'd you go to college?
I went to Moravian College, which is in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Small
Okay.
D school, yeah, and a lot of awesome memories. It was a blast.
Yeah, I don't know exactly where Bethlehem is, but because of most of our clients coming from word of mouth, we have a large contingency of people who are up in those small cities surrounding Philadelphia, and that one sounds familiar. So I think we probably know more people in common than you would think.
Probably that very well could be the case.
So you played basketball in college, which is kind of a sign that you're a pretty athletic guy, because that's not the case for most people, even if they're decent in high school. So that's pretty cool. What became of your athletics like post college, and kind of what was going on with just exercise and nutrition in general at that time?
Okay, so I met my wife pretty much 6 months, not even after, like, well, she wasn't my wife then, but I met her the summer after I graduated from college. And, from that point on, we were basically, planning a family. We got married pretty quickly, and, you know, working out wasn't a real thing. I played in some men's basketball leagues, and there was always this tinkering of like trying to do something. Some of my college friends, we did runs. I did a half marathon about 6 years ago. I actually did a full marathon, which was awesome.
Wow.
I'm not a great runner. I'm not going to lie. My time was not great, but I finished. And so it was one of those things with athletics and working out. It was someone gives me a challenge and I'll do it. And that was pretty much how all of those things went. And then along the way, I just noticed I was gaining weight, and so I would do some things. I went through the Beachbody stuff. I did P90X, Insanity, T25, those kinds of things, and they were okay, but it wasn't much to miss a day. And then when you miss a day, missing 2 days and missing 3 days, and then before you know it, you're like, all right, well, it's okay. And then you kind of take a step back from it. Life is pretty busy when you have 3 kids and they're playing sports and they have activities. So it wasn't as much of a priority when other things were going on.
Yeah. I don't know a lot about the Beachbody and Insanity and P90X. Are they video based, or is it an app, or how does that work?
I believe it's an app now,
Okay.
where you can go on and click on the different things. But at that time, you would send your money in, and they would send you this big pack of DVDs, and they would tell you days of what to do, and then you would do it, and then you would chart things. And I mean, it was helpful, but it was also like, as far as accommodations for like what you can and can't do, it wasn't much there. And if you felt pretty sore, there wasn't really anyone to talk to about that. It was just, okay, well, you do it or you don't do it. And that, for me, I think it was a turnoff. It was just, I ran into a lot of bumps in the road, and I ended up not really completing those things.
I've heard they're pretty tough. Like, as as far as I mean, I guess it's called Insanity for a reason.
Yes, the Insanity is more of like a hit workout, and it's high intensity, but it's very much like go, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't, and you do your best, but it's not. There's no one there to really see where you are or your form or anything like that. So in that respect, any injuries or cramping or things like that makes sense, because you really don't know. You're watching a video and you're trying to replicate, but
I gotcha. That makes sense. So you did those things, and then what was going on? Did you try any like of the kind of diet culture that goes along with those kinds of things?
I did. I mean, they give you a whole eating program, but very similarly, it's not very personalized. It's like eat this or eat that. There was like one thing. It was called. It came with like little containers, and you put your food in the containers. That we tried for a while. I did do. I think right before we got married, I did Weight Watchers for a little bit, and it was somewhat, I guess, successful. About a year or two ago, I did do Weight Watchers again and lost a few pounds. But then when one year we had this biggest, I guess it was the first year that Biggest Loser was big. And we're like, all right, that's it. We're going to take 3 months. Everyone that works at the school put in money and see who wins. So I found out about the Atkins diet, and I was like, all right, let's do it. So that's pretty much all meat,
Yeah.
no carbs. And I dropped like 70 pounds. It was on,
Wow.
but in 3 months, it was crazy. And then I gained it all back because there was an end to it, and I gained it all back, probably more so. So, and that, I mean, it kind of teaches me that I could pretty much do stuff follow through on things, but there wasn't anything sustainable about living like
Yeah,
that.
that's this around like 2001, 2002, something like that.
That's about right.
'Cause
Yes.
when Blakely and I got married, I was pretty overweight, and or we were about to get married, so I decided I needed to lose weight, and Atkins was the thing back then. That's what I did also. And I remember I was working for an insurance company at the time, and my coworkers and I would go to this barbecue buffet for lunch because I could just walk down, take all the meat I wanted, all the cheese I wanted, skip the salad and the bread. And I only did this for a few months because I had a goal of the wedding, and I
Right.
probably lost 20 pounds because of it. But then, just like your story, I regained it once I got tired of eating cheese and sausage, and it was probably the piece of wedding cake that put the carbs back into my life.
It's truly like the second you taste it again, you're like, all right, well, I guess I'm off of that. So
It's so true. So 70 pounds, that's a lot, though.
it was, but I was pretty emaciated afterwards, and it wasn't the hardest. The craziest part was I didn't work out at all. I literally just ate like tuna and chicken and cheese, and I didn't do one. I didn't do 1 ounce of working out, not one.
That should show people that are listening to this the importance of nutrition, and had you combined maybe a different approach combined with some weightlifting and a decently designed exercise program, you probably would have had a different physical result. Not that you would have been able to still maintain the weight loss if you couldn't maintain the sausage and cheese diet, but
Right, right. Yeah. I mean, it was what was crazy about it was I just felt horrible. Like I just felt horrible. I really did. I wasn't really eating fruits and vegetables. My water intake wasn't there. It was just horrible. I mean, I lost the weight, which was great. So I felt better about the fact that I was not weighing as much as I did. But it was just nothing sustainable about that.
yeah. And I know it's from my own perspective, it was kind of depressing to regain the weight too, because it's like, well, what was the point of all that?
Agreed. Absolutely. Yeah. That's the part that and that's the one thing that I would say I was extremely interested about this venture was that it was more of a journey. And I it was in the middle of COVID, and from March until like May, I was just kind of like shut down. I mean, I was working crazy hours, I was eating late at night, and it didn't feel good. I just felt horrible getting out of bed and walking around. And then a friend of mine, Chuck, posted this picture of like what he had been doing, and he used the word journey, I think, somewhere in there. And for me, I'm learning that the most amazing parts of my life were like with working out during when I was in high school or college. It was like the journey was the fun part, even though at the time it didn't feel that. It was the fun part. So this has been fun because it's a journey. Like I enjoy the workout. I enjoy every day going and working out. I enjoy making the right decisions because I feel better about it at the end. And whether it's not necessarily what's on a scale, but I feel good, and I know that these decisions that I'm making for myself are helping in the long run. So it is a journey. It's
Yeah,
truly is.
that's a pretty big mindset shift because I think, a lot of people kind of have the destination mindset where, I'm going to do this certain thing for a certain number of months. I'm going to get to the goal. And then I'm not really sure what's going to happen after that, and like you said, it's a mindset shift to the journey. There's reward in the journey and there's reward in the process of feeling better every day. And it's so awesome to hear you say that.
Yeah,
So,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just going to kind of jump to, since you brought up, shut down and quarantine and kind of getting to the point where you knew you wanted to do something. I remember, I think you sent us an email and you and I had a phone call. Um, and, just kind of picking your brain about where you were at and what you wanted to do. And I remember kind of talking about the nutrition side of it with you. And you actually joined a different program than your friend Chuck does. You joined the body program that Blakely coaches. Um, and with that came that free month of nutrition coaching that you and I did together that month. So I just want to kind of dig into what were those first days like, when you started. Were you nervous? What were some of the the challenges you had, and like how did that pan out over the next 3 months? Because now you've been with us over 4 months, I believe, or right at 4 months.
Right. Today's 4 months, actually. Today is. So what's what was interesting, I was so thankful about that conversation that you and I had because it was really honest, and you told me, like, I'm not necessarily going to tell you that you have to track this or track that. It's different for everyone. And the fact that you were honest about the fact that this was going to go where I wanted it to go. That was awesome. And that meant a lot to me. And that's why I wanted to have a conversation before I kind of launched in. But the first week, and I don't know if you recall, we were doing this crazy hybrid graduation at our school.
That's
and
right.
It was so hot, and I was outside wearing a shirt and tie with a black gown over top and a hat and a mask, and I was sweating, and you can notice that I'm like pink in color, so I had a lot of sunscreen on, and the sunscreen was in my eyes, and I was dehydrated, and I was horrible. And I remember it was like the second day of working with you folks, and I sent you a text, and I said, Jonathan, I'm not going to be able to get to my workout today. I don't know what's going on. And you're like, it's cool, you're going to get it tomorrow. And at the moment, I remember I was talking to my wife, and it was before I sent you that text. I said, I don't know if I can do this. But that text meant a lot to me because you said you're going to get it tomorrow. It wasn't like, oh, it's okay if you. It was like, don't worry, you're going to hit it hard tomorrow. And that was the driving force of, like, I know these people are behind me in trying to find my success here. So since then, I mean, I've kind of plowed through, and working out of my house at first. I have some adjustable dumbbells and bands and a mat, just figuring it out and working around with what I have in my home, and then ultimately being able to do so at my my school, which has been great. But really just finding the way of doing it every day, making it a priority, because I know I have the both of you behind me, which has been great.
Yeah, you were actually probably one of the first people in your group that had access to a real gym. I remember Blakely watching one of your form check videos one day. She's like, "Hey, come check this out. He's in a real gym." So that probably, contributed to amplifying your results, honestly, because you have a lot of experience. Like you mentioned, you lifted weights, back when you were excelling at basketball, and I think a lot of that translated over. Um, I think a lot of people don't realize that when they sign up for one of these programs with us, that they're actually getting a coach. What were you, what do you think about that? Did you know that you were going to have a coach, and what do you think about having a coach now?
I I didn't realize it was going to be as interactive as it actually is. I got to be honest with you. I really just thought you were going to send me workouts. I would do them, and you would check them off, and that would be, and then you would just kind of charge me every month. Um, but the fact that literally every single day I get a comment of constructive criticism and some sort of a positive feedback every single day from Blakely or from you is just so great, because it does keep me going. And I know, I've never met you in person, but I know that, we have a relationship that you can see me working hard, and you appreciate that through some communication. And the one day when you both reached out to me, said, "Hey, we got to work on those squats," which is still I'm still working on. And we spent some time going through that, and just doing a FaceTime where to work on that. That was really, it meant a lot to me to know that you want me to be successful, and taking time out of your very busy day, I'm sure, to spend some time and making me go through it a few times, and giving me that positive reinforcement's been a huge help. So yeah, having a coach makes a lot of sense. And it's funny because I was walking around my building today. Teachers are in the building now, and everyone's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Tell me what you're doing. Tell me what you're doing." And I try to explain this to them, and they're like, "Wait a minute, you have a coach, but they're not like." I'm like, "Oh yeah, I talk to them every day." And like, "Well, where?" I'm like, "Oh, well, they're somewhere else in the country." And like, "What do you?" And I just tell them this has been the perfect fit for me, because they're there. They're not like knocking on my door every morning, but they're there for help, and that's awesome.
Yeah, it is weird. It is a weird thing. We didn't, if you would have said 3 years ago that we would be coaching people online, we wouldn't even understood what you meant or believed it. So it is kind of funny how it's evolved. So, like I mentioned before, when we first started working, or when you first started the workout program, you got the free month of nutrition coaching. So, I know you had never had a nutrition coach before, but you had experience trying different diets and stuff. So, what was kind of your perception of the way that we started that, and kind of what's happened in your nutrition over the last 4 months since you have been doing all this?
That was you basically just said, send me everything you're eating. And it was completely, this is what I eat. And what I noticed in our conversations and what you were giving to me was I just really wasn't eating enough of the right stuff. I thought I was doing the right thing by cutting down and restricting things, when in reality, in order for me to actually progress, I needed to eat, more protein, more vegetables, more of the right things, drinking the water, and planning ahead of time in order to make sure that I get it what I need. And I'm learning that even though it's much easier to like run to, a restaurant or a fast food place to grab something that sounds like it's healthy, it's way better for me to try to prepare it at home and know exactly what I'm doing and make sense of that. My wife is a phenomenal cook, and she takes a lot of care in that. So when I say, hey, why don't we try this? She's really good at, figuring out ways of making things taste good and have the right things in them. So that she's been a huge help with that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and you're lucky to have that support for sure. I don't
Absolutely.
think anybody who listens to our podcast or reads our content on social media would be surprised to hear you say that we told you to eat more protein. I think we get a reputation for that. But I don't remember back to exactly the food pictures that you posted back in those days, but I've seen, because you continue to log your body weight in True Coach, that you have continued to make progress well beyond the month that you and I worked together. Why don't we talk about, before we talk about the like any kind of numbers or anything, like what progress do you feel like you've made in your strength and in your performance, and how's that translated to your real life?
I feel, first of all, I feel like the leg work um, is unlike anything I've done. I mean, I feel like just with the squats, and it maybe not necessarily the strength there, but just the fact that every single day I'm doing something to kind of build up my base with my legs has been huge. With my upper body, about a few years ago, I actually was trying to get back into the gym, and I actually tore a tendon that connects my pec muscle and into the back, and just kind of snapped. Since then, that was 2 years ago, I was afraid to even go in the weight room and do anything. But everything that Blakely gives me considers, hey, keep those in, or like make sure you're working on your form. So I can feel like I've gotten a lot of progress. My back, I mean, I think I'm pulling like 70 pounds, 75 pounds when I'm doing like those pull-ups, those back pulls. So like I'm getting, I feel stronger every day. I feel everything that I'm doing, I'm getting stronger, and I'm okay with starting with low weight if I'm just working on a new exercise. And that's been something that both of you have been telling me, like, listen, with those squats, don't think you have to throw a lot of weight on there. Work on your form first. And that's been helpful because, I feel like it's okay to be humble and just kind of build from that.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we started recording, you said something about your pull-ups. Why don't you tell everybody what you were telling me there?
Oh, yes. So I don't know how anyone else feels about pull-ups, but I've never liked them. I've never been good at them. And getting one ever was like my whole life. I've never been able to do them. So um, it was a few weeks ago, and Blakely said, why don't you try the pull-ups? So I got one, I got two, and then today I got seven, which was enormous because I've never gotten seven pull-ups in my entire life, which is awesome.
That's so amazing. Yeah. We need to develop just like a pull-up program, because so many people are interested in getting their first pull-up and then getting better at pull-ups. So but the bottom line is, when you build overall body strength, and as you lose fat, you just get better at pull-ups. So you're a perfect example of that.
Absolutely.
So, did you ever miss a workout? Did anything ever not go 100% as planned? And how did you overcome and deal with those setbacks?
I Okay, so early on, again, as I told you, it was probably that first week. I definitely missed one. I I've learned that like when I go through a workout, I really haven't missed any. And there are some like some exercises that, I mean, I've never really missed any of the workouts. I've become, and I've kind of alluded to it earlier, like if someone gives me something, I'm just going to try to plow through it.
Yeah.
I won't be able to do a high weight all the time. I know that for a fact. But as far as missing certain things, I haven't really, knock on wood, dealt with any specific injuries or things like that. I was extremely worried about vacation, and I went on vacation a while ago, and I kind of pre-planned it. I said I'm going on vacation. I think I texted you. I said, but I have access to a fitness center, so don't worry about it. And I got there, and because of everything going on, I found out that I didn't have access. And I said, oh my gosh. And I sent it was like this high alert text, Blakely, I don't have access to a fitness center. What am I going to do? And literally within like 2 hours, she's like, no worries. I'm going to change up your exercises for the week. And she completely said, we'll push everything else back and just do these. And these were like no weight exercises. And it was so great that it like she had this secret card in her back pocket, for me to continue to do something. And so I just, my kids were in the pool, and I was over, back somewhere, with a mat, just kind of getting these body weight workouts in. And it was awesome because I was able to get them in.
I saw a video of you on like the deck of a house, like with a motorcycle in the background or something, doing some bands.
That was me. Yeah, it was cool because like my kids, my nephew saw me like, what are you doing? I'm like, I got to get the workout in. And I feel it's just one of those like mental things where like, I know I have to do it. And I also, and there's no part of me that really, I mean, sometimes like you dread doing a workout, but I just know that I feel like a million times better after I get a workout in. So yeah, I just figured that and luckily, we were able to kind of accommodate that.
Yeah, no, you killed it. We were both really proud that you were so excited to work out on vacation. Very cool. Most people try to take that as a reason to not do anything, which sometimes can steamroll into 2 weeks of not doing anything or 3 weeks of not doing anything. So
I know. And that, I was really nervous about going away as well, kind of being in the midst of all this. And I actually sent a message to Chuck and said, dude, I'm going on vacation. How do you deal with eating when you're on vacation? Like he said, well, you just kind of budget it, you just figure it out. And I didn't know what he meant by that. And I noticed that like, I just kind of, okay, so if I know we're going to go out to eat or get some food out, consider, what you're going to eat earlier in the day, and then, have fun with it, but just do it in moderation. And I found that wasn't as hard. It wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be, knowing the thought process of what I've learned being with you guys.
Yeah. So I'm sure people are wondering, like, so how much progress has this guy made since he started 4 months ago? So why don't you kind of talk about as in little or as much detail as you want about the physical changes you've seen since you've been doing this?
Yeah. So I lost about, I lost about 40 pounds so far. And that's been pretty awesome. And it's kind of hard to even like fathom that, because like I feel like I just feel like it's a different animal. Like I don't even notice that. I just log it every day. And when you like start from the beginning, you're like, wow, that's kind of where I'm at. So it's about 40 pounds so far. Around my waist, about an inch or two. I mean, as far as my clothes, I got to be honest, they're not really fitting as much as they once did. I'm going to have to probably, go and get new clothes at some point. But yeah, like I feel like everything has kind of shrunk, and gaining, like as far as like every other part of my body, like is feeling like it's kind of getting tighter. So it's like my stomach, I've definitely lost about an inch and a half. And then lower, I think I lost 2 inches, and my legs, I lost about 3 or 4 inches on each one of those. So.
Actually, I looked up your metrics it looked like you measured yourself really recently, maybe even today. And actually, since you started, you've lost 4.5 inches off your waist.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was wrong.
inch and a half is like dinner. You could lose 1.5 inches just by skipping dinner. But yeah, 4.5 inches off your waist in 4 months. And that's one of the things we always emphasize with people. And it's one of the reasons we take body measurements, is because, and I probably sound like I'm a broken record here talking about body composition versus weight loss, but as you see somebody's waistline shrinking, you know that they're losing fat. You know, the scale only tells part of the story, especially in a big guy like you who can move some weight around, because I'm sure you've built a significant amount of muscle since starting this program too, which kind of skews the perception of just weight loss.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And for me, I mean, I track it. I got to be honest. I don't track those things that often. I do track my weight daily, but for me, it's more like what I see when I look in the mirror, and I can tell like there are certain things changing. Like I can start to see like my abs again, which
Yeah.
is many years. Just I could feel like I can just notice my arms like they're getting like they're muscular, and I can kind of it's that like the vision of what you see in yourself, you can notice that, and that's actually a really cool thing to notice, and it keeps you going too, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's one of the things I try to explain to people is that, you know, motivation is kind of a tricky thing. We're never going to feel 100% motivated to go do whatever it is we're trying to do in life. We're never going to be 100% motivated. But if you can stick with something long enough and you start to see the results that you started it for in the first place, then those results and that progress actually become one of the motivators that is pretty darn sustainable, because you just keep seeing more and more progress. And I think that's pretty much what's happened with you too.
I would agree. I think it, and I guess when I first started this, my expectation wasn't that I was going to see any of this now. I really didn't. I felt like, okay, I'll lose, you know, maybe by September I will have lost 15 pounds, but I'll feel better, right? It wasn't like I was anticipating a certain number. I wasn't thinking that at all. I just know for me, it was waking up, eating right, doing the workout, and then we'll see what happens. And enjoying the journey has been kind of really what I was looking for. And I'm obviously doing that, but then at the same time, the benefit is that, you know, everything else kind of happens. I mean, I am kind of making good progress, I think. So it makes it all the more worthwhile.
Yeah, for sure. So what since we haven't been working together closely on your nutrition over the last few months, like what's been kind of going on with nutrition? I know we messaged maybe a month or so ago. You were kind of like wondering if maybe you were kind of stuck, and we talked through that a little bit. But what are some of the challenges with just on the day to day of continuing to eat right and make progress?
The challenges are, I feel like, and when we spoke, it was like I wasn't sure where I was. I kind of almost needed like a barometer check, and I hadn't really been tracking macros at all. I really haven't been, and I was trying not to go down that road because I wanted to be able to make these decisions just based upon what I think I need. So I did, but I did spend that week just tracking macros just to see where I was, and noticing, wow, like I'm under a lot in a lot of different things. I was under in protein more than anything, because even though I thought I was eating enough, I really wasn't eating enough. So just making sure that like every once in a while I kind of think, okay, I had dinner, but I know that I probably didn't have enough of this. It's never been like I'm not sitting here thinking, well, I have to eat this before I go to bed. It's just that if I'm hungry, this is the thing I might go to. But I've been really making sure that, you know, for breakfast, I'm always eating. I have egg whites and one egg, and a bunch of vegetables, and like just like a slice of bread, and then a carb at lunch, but also mostly protein. And I'm definitely pushing in some high protein yogurt every day, and then a protein shake in the afternoon. And then if I'm hungry, I'll have some like vegetables or some sort of protein before I go to sleep. But a lot of it, quite honestly, it's the water. Like drinking water has been a huge help in making sure that I feel good, you know. And um, I think that sometimes I do have to every once in a while revisit where I am and what I should be doing. So tracking macros here and there is, I think, a good little like spot check to see, okay, should I be a little bit more in my protein? Should I be a little bit lower? I'm certainly not. I know that I keep asking questions. Well, where should I be? It's just at some points it's a guessing game, because it's a wonderful science, but I don't know that I'm in a position to like every single time I eat scan something, because
Right.
that's just too much diet mentality. I'd rather not go down. So I'd like to be able to feel it a little bit more naturally.
Yeah, well, I think probably a million people. Well, first of all, a million people don't listen to this, but probably a lot of people listening to this are kind of turned off by the idea of tracking their food and weighing and measuring. And that's one of the reasons that when somebody starts with us, we ask what their mentality around that is, because we're not trying to force somebody to do something they don't want to do. But like you said, there is probably no better way to bring awareness, and you do it through like spot checks every once in a while to make sure that you're still on track. But yeah, sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought there. Um, but all throughout that time, I mean, looking back at your weight chart, you know, fat loss isn't a completely linear process, but 40 pounds is nothing to sneeze at. Do you feel like, the process that you followed to get to this result, are you any danger, kind of like you were with the Atkins diet, of rebounding back out of this, or what is your mindset around that? Because nobody wants that.
That's a wonderful question, and that's the thing. That's the part where my conversation with Chuck and has been, you have to live your life, right? So any decisions you make around what you're going to have today or tomorrow, or when you go to a birthday party, or when you have Christmas at your house, if you choose to just completely restrict yourself from enjoying your life, you're going to end up hating what you're doing. So I think you have to allow yourself the opportunity to participate moderately in the things that you enjoy to do, and when I was on vacation, that was something that, resonated in my brain, was that I'm on vacation, I'm going to have a good time. I'm not going to go nuts for 7 days straight and not work out, but I am going to have an opportunity to enjoy myself and let go a little bit. And if I want to have, a slice of pizza here or there, I can do that. It's okay. And even we'll get wings every once in a while, but I'll just, not have 20. I'll have a few, and I'll just kind of work my day around that. And it's, if you think about food differently and you really stop and think, okay, I'm going to enjoy this, and then know, wow, this, when I'm full, I'm good, and you're good, and you just kind of move on from that. I think that's the mentality. If you give someone else the opportunity to make the decisions for you and what you eat, then ultimately you're going to resent that. So you got to be able to, I think, educate yourself and do it for yourself and be okay with what you're doing. So that's one of the reasons why I like how this has been, is that I get to kind of drive this the way that I want to.
Mm-hmm. So, but do you feel like what you're doing now is sustainable?
I do, for that reason. I feel it's sustainable because in any given moment, like, I can say, well, listen, I'm going to go out to dinner with my wife, or I'm going to take my son out for lunch, and I can do those things, make right decisions. Or if I end up making a poor decision, that's cool. Like, that's one meal out of how many meals where I'm kind of doing the right thing. Yeah. And that's fine. And there's no, I don't go over my points, or I don't, it's just, it's okay to do that, because I know I'm going to work out hard tomorrow, and I know I'm going to eat right 90% of the time. Yeah. So, I think it's sustainable because you have to treat yourself as a human being that is living a life. And for that reason, I think the conversation, listening to all of your podcasts and everything that you really offer, has been helpful to know it's okay to live a life, but also consider, like, if you're trying to eat healthy, these are the decisions you might want to consider making most of the time.
Yeah, I think that's what you said is so important, because actually I think we put a post up today. It's dealing with that all or nothing mentality where, like you said, if you have one meal that you didn't intend to have, or it didn't play out the way you wanted, put it in the past, move on to the next meal. It's one of however 30, 40 meals in that week alone. So yeah, and don't let that turn into 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bad decisions in a row, just because you get into a bad mental place around it. So that's so huge. I'm glad that you understand that.
I'm getting it. I'm learning it. It's a learning process. It is, because I think, and again, it goes back to like that obsession thing that I had when I was, younger. Like, I'm going to just play by the book. And so I got to give myself the opportunity sometimes to say, yeah, man, you can back off of that. You can totally have some if you want, and that's fine. and not be upset with yourself for making those decisions. So, and my wife's really good at that. She's really good at saying, yeah, what are you doing? Like, we're on vacation, have fun. So
Yeah. So what do you think, like, moving forward? You finished the body program, you're in Body 2.0 right now. Like, where do you see yourself, not necessarily with in regards to working with us, but just in your fitness journey? Where do you see yourself in the next year, 5 years, 10 years?
geez, that's a big question.
Yeah.
I I really am living in this journey right now. I feel like I enjoy everything about the body program because there's a lot of that cardio, and there's a lot of the things that I'm doing make sense for where I am right now. And as I kind of ended that first 3 months, my conversation or my question for Blakely was, what do you think would be best for me? And I totally trust that you have my best interest in mind. So I'm completely compelled to think, okay, where am I? Can I build onto this? Can I go on to, body? Can I, I'm sorry, to build, or whatever it may be. I don't know that I want to kind of disconnect from a relationship that's been working for me anytime in the near future, because it's been working. At some point, like, if I feel like, yeah, you know what, I can probably, I can try maybe CrossFit or something like that, might happen. But I've learned that I don't want to look at fitness as one of those, all right, well, I'm going to go and I'm going to do an ultra marathon and that's what I'm going to do. Like, I don't know that I'm ever going to do something like that, because as enjoyable as it is kind of getting to that point, there's an end. And I don't like the concept of having an end to it. So what I'm doing with you folks right now is helpful, because I'm kind of working through it, and I have like an accountability to it, and where it goes will help me kind of figure out, okay, where do I want to go next, and be able to make that decision for myself. But I'm completely content, working this, and I want to get to my goals. Like, I want to definitely get under 200 pounds and get to that weight, and then see where I am at that point. But I can't say enough about the workouts. They make me feel awesome.
So it sounds like the goal is just to kind of enjoy the process and continue improving yourself and see what happens, which I think is pretty good.
That's as far into the future as I can go.
I like that. I think I'm on the same journey as you, actually, as far as that goes. So just kind of wrapping up, probably there's somebody out there listening to this that is in your shoes 4, 5, 6 months ago, who is kind of like had similar experiences and knows they want to do something, and whether it's with us or not, like, what would you say to somebody who's kind of like thinking maybe they can't start because of where they are now?
I would say that you can't tell people to make a decision for themselves. Like, I know I can certainly recommend it and think, oh, this is great, but when people aren't ready, they're not ready. And for me, I think if you're ready and you're willing to make a decision, do that for yourself, and look at yourself in the mirror and know, right, listen, I'm going to stick through this. And if you put one foot in front of the other, you'd be surprised at exactly how far you can really go with anything. With this has been amazing. So for me, it's about having trust in that process, but more trust in yourself to be able to know that you can do. Like, for me at the beginning, I was nowhere near where I am now. Like, I couldn't do half of the things, like, at all. And it was just like, all right, just having some humility, but also having perseverance. And when you make that decision, when people are ready to make that decision, I think having humility about knowing where you are right now, not where you were when you were 16, but having humility with where you are right now and being okay with that. And then knowing that I'm going to just kind of persevere and get through every day. And if you're cool with that, and if you're able to put forth that sort of energy, you'd be surprised at how far. I mean, it's for yourself. I think at the end of the day, you have to love yourself, and you have to be able to dedicate things for yourself in order to be able to be something for anybody else. So it's worth it. This is the best gift I've given myself. Really, I gotta be honest with you.
That's so good, man. I can't. I've had a lot of conversations with people, and at the end of the day, a lot of people just have such a self-limiting belief, and it stems from them not thinking that they're actually worth the change that they want to make. So there's first of all, believing that you're worth it, and then like you said, not looking back at where you've been in the past, just recognizing where you are now, and taking the first step. So man, that's so good to hear you say that. I'm I know that, I'm the only one interviewing you here, but you work with Blakely on a day-to-day basis, and she wanted me to tell you how proud she is of the progress that you've made. We don't have people on here to say, look at this person who has reached the ultimate destination of whatever. We just are happy to be a part of the process of what you're doing, and we want to use your story to show people that they can do the exact same thing that you want to do, that you are doing right now. So thank you for working with us, for trusting us, and for agreeing to come tell everybody your story.
I can't thank you enough, and it's been my honor to spend some time talking to you tonight, Ben. And Blakely's been nothing but amazing. I mean, just nothing but positive, nothing but helpful, and providing really great support on a regular basis. This has been an awesome journey for me, and I thank, honestly, to be honest, I thank Chuck for posting that, and for, like, because he's just a great person. I've known him for forever, and I know that he doesn't say stuff that's not true. So because of the opportunity, it just kind of fell into my lap, into my Facebook feed at the right time. And this has been a really wonderful journey. So I can't thank the both of you enough. This has been great.
Yeah, we need to get Chuck on the payroll somehow, because we called like the Anarino factor. It's like, one of his friends on Facebook, the last time he posted something, or maybe 2 times ago, told Chuck, this is the longest running infomercial on Facebook. I got a good kick out of that one.
Very well. No, it's true. I mean, he's a pretty genuine guy, and I've known him for quite some time. He said, this is all you. You would be awesome with this. So, yeah, and he was right. He's right. You two, and your personalities, and just your expertise, and just the way that you're so just empathetic to others has been it's like the secret sauce that you have. So I totally recommend this to anyone who's looking to make a change for themselves. And I know I personally have kind of verbalized that to a lot of folks that I'm around. So I wouldn't be surprised if you're hearing some of my coworkers reaching out to you in the near future, because they're all kind of asking me, what are you doing? What are you doing? So I've been telling them all about it, and this has been a great journey. So thank you.
That's awesome, man. Well, I don't want to take up any more of your time. I know you got dinner waiting for you over there. So thanks again for doing this and for inspiring other people. Thank you all for watching and listening, and we will check you out on the next episode.